Thor Ragnarok is finally out in cinemas all over the world now. That means the world can finally enjoy talking spoilers about it without fear of hulking out a whole entire country. As awesome as Thor's third solo adventure is, and it is awesome, full of laughs, conflicts, and a great story, we couldn't help but notice there were a few problems with the film.
Then point me in the direction of whoever's ass I have to kick.
Thankfully, there was more awesome than negative in the film, and we walked away thoroughly pleased. While we bask in the glory that is Thor's latest quest, let us take a moment to talk about what didn't quite work for us in the latest Asgardian adventure. Oh, and it has to be said, but spoiler alert for Ragnarok. If you haven't seen the movie yet, add this video to your watch later playlist and come back after. Before we count them down though, be sure to click on that subscribe button to get all the latest and greatest from Screen Rant right away. Also, can you guess the hit film based off of these emoji? Stay tuned for the answer.
Get help! Please! My brother's dying! Get help! Help him!
Loki the punching bag. It's safe to say that Loki is the MCU's greatest villain and is one of the greatest characters all around. He's been around ever since the first Thor film and was the layered and fascinating villain and brother to the film's hero. Although Loki often relies on his magic and cunning to advance his position, he's a capable fighter, as illustrated by his one-on-one bouts with his brother in both the first Thor film and the first Avenger film. While Loki still is clever, he apparently isn't as clever as it used to be during the events of Ragnarok. But even more startling is how he's essentially become a punching bag for everyone to go up against. Everyone from Hela to Valkyrie was able to take him out quite easily, and Thor used his own cunning against the god of mischief to take him out. It's a bit frustrating to see that Loki isn't as capable as he once was. He's able to find out the reanimated corpses that fill the ranks of Hela's army, but he's otherwise bombarded and bested throughout the film. Loki was once a major villain and an ambitious trickster, but now he's an uneasy ally who didn't really contribute that much to the overall narrative.
Kneel.
Beg your pardon.
Kneel.
Mela. It's a known fact now that the MCU films have weak villains. Marvel chief Kevin Feige openly acknowledges this, citing that making compelling villains isn't part of their plan.
Not a great plan.
We thought that was gonna change with the coming of Hela though, played by the very gothic-looking Cate Blanchett. Blanchett is one of the best actresses working today. Perhaps best known for playing Lady Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films, she is a renowned and celebrated actress at the top of her game. That makes it a shame to see that the film never really capitalizes on her acting skills to give us a more memorable villain. Hela is Odin's firstborn child and thus the lawful heir to the throne after the Allfather dies. But unlike Thor, Hela is straight up evil and quite powerful. She decimates Asgard's army and takes out the Warriors 3 with hilarious ease. But she's another one-note villain, hell-bent on destroying things and not much else. For being a child of Asgard and Thor's biological sister, we would have much preferred to see the family dynamic played up a lot more. Instead, we got another one-note villain who could have been so much more. Her sidekick, the Asgardian Scourge, is much more interesting in terms of characterization.
Hulk like fire, Thor like water.
Oh, kind of both like fire.
But Hulk like raging fire, Thor like smoldering fire.
Sudden Linguist. Last time we saw the Hulk was at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron. Stowed away in a Quinjet, Hulk abandoned the Avengers and traveled to destination unknown. We know he somehow ended up on the planet run by the Grand Master and ends up being his gladiator champion. But just how on earth did Hulk become so much better at English? And why does this not surprise Thor? Thor hasn't seen his fellow Avenger in quite a few years. During the events of Ultron, Hulk barely said anything at all, and he didn't have much in the way of a personality either. His main thing, as it always has been, was to smash. But ever since Ultron threatened to destroy Sokovia and Hulk left the team, he's remained in the green form ever since. So how is it that a primitive mind like the Hulk's picked up so much English? Furthermore, one of Thor's first remarks to Hulk after their fight should have been an inquiry as to how he's now able to communicate. It's such an easy thing to add into the movie, and it's baffling as to why it wasn't included. The mystery to Hulk's newfound power of communication shall remain just that for the time being, it seems.
I'm not for sale.
The God of Thunder. In Thor Ragnarok, we bear witness to the destruction of Mjolnir pretty early on in the film. That in turn makes Thor considerably weaker than he was before. He doesn't have the ability of flight anymore and can't throw his hammer and summon it back into his hands. Despite losing his trademark tool, Thor unlocks his true thunder potential in this film and shocks audiences with just how powerful he can be. His eyes turn blue and lightning emits from his body in a display that could rival Raiden's from Mortal Kombat.
I don't think so.
But with these newfound powers comes a new plot hole that's quite irritating. After Thor meets Hela, he's cast out of the Rainbow Bridge and crash lands on Sakaar, the home world of the Grand Master. He's quickly implanted with a restraining bolt of sorts by the former Asgardian warrior known as Valkyrie. So what does this restraining bolt do exactly? Well, it shocks the person it's attached to. It's really weird to see Thor constantly being neutered by the one thing that makes him powerful. He was tased once in the first film, but he was mortal at the time. When he's in full god mode, there's no reason why a little shock would incapacitate the likes of Thor, not when he's able to do this.
Loki's alive. Can you believe it? He's up there. Loki, look who it is.
Are you not entertained? One of the big moments in Ragnarok's marketing campaign was the impending gladiator match between Thor and his fellow Avenger the Hulk, who was seen sporting armor and weapons in a space gladiator ring. It was enough to send fan expectations over the roof, as we were going to be getting a new Thor film that drew elements from the beloved Planet Hulk arc. Despite the fact that the gladiator match was a huge draw in the marketing for the film, the actual scene wasn't as awesome as we were led to believe. It was fun, certainly, but it didn't have the same wow factor as, say, the airport scene in Civil War. But it should've. Gladiators on another planet, Hulk raging out, it's what everyone wanted. Perhaps the fight should have been more extravagant. Perhaps we should have seen more gladiator matches instead of rushing straight into Thor versus Hulk. Seriously, Thor is captured and put into the ring against the champion almost right away. Shouldn't he have to earn that challenge? We saw that there were other fights, such as the Cronin known as Korg and his buddy Meek. Instead, the match felt more like a moment than an earned confrontation, and it didn't play any meaningful part in the plot other than seeing Hulk and Thor dish it out for a few minutes without much build-up.
Thank you, Father.
No. Thank you.
The Dark World. At the end of Thor's second film, The Dark World, we get the shocking revelation that Loki has taken on the guise of Odin and is now the king of Asgard. It was quite the finale to the film and left us wondering for years what was going on. What happened to Odin? How did Loki con his father? What was going to be the consequences to these actions? Well, we got the answers to those questions, and they kinda made the Dark World's ending useless. Everyone in Asgard believes that Loki died honorably on the home planet of the Dark Elves because Loki has been telling everyone just that. He's built statues in his name and has regular theater performances showing the citizens of Asgard how noble and brave Loki was. If you didn't catch it, Loki's stage actor was played by Matt Damon in an unusual but funny cameo. Yet Thor sees right through Loki's deception and calls him out in the second scene of the film. Furthermore, Odin is found immediately afterwards. While Loki's shenanigans ultimately led to the return of their sister Hela, it ultimately makes the ending of Dark World feel weak. It felt like they rushed through what could have been a chilling game of deception and would have been a thrilling focal point of the film.
Found you!
Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. Ever since before the events of the first Thor movie, the God of Thunder has rode into battle with his most trustworthy friends, the Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. They're comprised of Hogun, Fandral, and Volstagg, the latter two of which helped Thor bust Loki out of Asgard with Sif during the events of the Dark World. The team has been around in the comics ever since their first appearance in 1965. Although not as powerful as the likes of Thor, they are capable warriors and critical when it's an all-out battle. When Hela appears on the scene though, Volstagg and Fandral go out within seconds. It feels weird to have both actors resume their roles for only a few moments on screen and to have them not even draw arms against the goddess of death. Sure, the scene was meant to showcase her devastating power, but to give those two no scenes prior felt cheap. Furthermore, Lady Sif is straight up absent from the film, Thor's most trusted friend. It feels weird that she's not only absent from the film, but not even referenced. Surely Thor would have asked her or the Warriors 3 for help before embarking on his quest. Lastly, the passing of the Warriors 3 is never brought to Thor's attention. While doing the evacuation, the welfare of his best friends is never a concern for him, and he never seeks them out on the refugee ship. Some friend, Thor.
Hey, Sparkles, here's the deal. If you want to get back to place, Asperg.
Asgard!
Uneven tonal shift. Director Taika Waititi may be a renowned indie filmmaker, but he knows a thing or two about being on set of a superhero film. After all, he was the best friend character in the infamous Green Lantern film. While on set of Martin Campbell's Dark Horse film, Waititi made some notes on how to make a film, basically doing the opposite of what Campbell did. Instead of a strict structure, Taika instead opts for a messier and free-flowing directing style. It did offer some awesome moments in the film, but also created an uneven tone for both the film and the series at large. Thor has always been a brooding warrior, and one of the stranger characters on the Avengers roster. He's a demigod of sorts, and his view on the world was much different from those on Earth. But that chivalrous and battle-hardened Norse deity is gone in this film. That's both a welcome change and a frustrating one. Although it's great to see Chris Hemsworth dishing out some snarky one-liners and quips throughout the film, it does have to be said that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. While the humor was a welcome addition to the film, there seemed to be too many jokes at the wrong moments that ultimately cut the dramatic and emotional moments from the film. This is a movie about the literal end of the world. Although bantering in battle and between friends and enemies is certainly entertaining and welcome, cracking a joke after the destruction of Asgard or the apparent death of Bruce Banner, not so much. Sure, he turned into the Hulk after falling onto the Bifrost Bridge, but Banner told us that if he turned one more time, he isn't coming back. With that in mind, we got a chuckle out of Banner's broken body before he hulked out. Weird. And that's all for now, fellow Asgardians. What did you think of the movie? What was your favorite part of it, and what was the thing that annoyed you the most about it? Of the 3 Thor films, is this your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel to get more content like this on your playlist every day. And the answer to the emoji quiz is... thanks for watching.